I will preface this morning's sermon by saying this is the most difficult sermon that I have ever composed, probably the most difficult I will ever give. I did send it to Rick and Carolyn, our regional ministers, as well as Kim Ryan, and to get their feedback. And it was a go, so Mr. Thomas, it's good to have you this morning.
Thank you.
He wasn't here for 2 Sundays and people kept asking me where he was, as if I know where Jack is. He nags me. It's not the same as knowing where he is. When I was in elementary school, I went to church with my grandma Inez. She was my dad's mother, and attended an independent Church of Christ in Newcastle, which of course now being through seminary and in the disciples, realized that we were cousins who broke apart over a lot of theological differences. My grandma would pay me for good grades and memorizing Bible verses. Incentive is good, but money with which to buy candy is even better. Right? I don't know how old I was, but I do remember that this morning's scripture, Psalm 23, was one of those she paid me to memorize, but in the King James Version. I remember sitting on her porch swing, and she would say the verses, and I would repeat them. And I remember getting hung up on the first verse. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. My grandma would say it, and I would repeat it. But then I asked, what does that mean? The Lord is my shepherd, but I don't want the Lord to be my shepherd? Fortunately, my grandma had a sense of humor and thought it was funny, but it then explained to me what it means. Punctuation is important. My grandma could see in her King James Bible that there was a semicolon between the Lord is my shepherd and I shall not want. But just having me repeat it after her, I didn't understand that they were separated, and therefore I was left confused trying to figure out why I wanted to proclaim that the Lord is my shepherd, but also I don't want the Lord to be my shepherd. I was easily confused when I was a child. As much as I, and probably most of us, learned to recite Psalm 23 in the King James Bible, raise your hand if that's how you learned it. I do love some of the language, though, in the New Oxford Annotated Bible and the New Revised Standard Version, a Bible given to me on the date of my ordination. Some of it is said the same as the classical King James Version, and some of it is stated differently, but the essence is still the same. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. In this edition, it's a comma and not a semicolon that makes the point. The Lord is our shepherd, and we are to take comfort in that. We are to be taken care of as shepherds stay in the fields and take care of their sheep. In the ancient Near East countries, this language would not only make sense to shepherds in the fields, but to everyone, including rulers, because kings would see themselves as the shepherds of their people. And then the image of the shepherd, the Lord leading us to a lovely sounding place full of life and growth, and everything just sounds wonderful. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. This is the place we want to be. Imagine the most peaceful place you've ever been in. Beside the calm waters where nothing is threatening, and among you are the good things that are flourishing. This is where we want to reside with the Lord and with others and just stay. We never want to leave. But then the imagery changes. And we're made aware that we won't always be in the green pastures with the tranquil lakes, that there will be difficult times and places in Verse 4 tells us, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I know it doesn't come as a shock to any of you that the murder of my husband is the most difficult thing that I've ever had to deal with. Never in the realm of possibility in the things that I could think would happen in my life would I have assumed that I'd have to identify Toby at a coroner's office or be in constant contact with a homicide detective. If I leave the state like this week for Bethany Fellows, I have to contact that detective and let him know where I'll be and how to reach me, and a family member who he can reach who knows where I am in case he can't, in case somehow they find who did this to Toby. When I had to call Social Security to report his death, they asked me how he died, and when I told them that he was murdered, it felt like that M-word was bouncing around in my head and sirens were going off the first time I said it. I felt sick to my stomach. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I'm aware that I'm still in shock, though, and I still feel some of these things. In his last minutes in this life, Toby walked in the darkest valley because of the decisions and actions of someone else, because someone else's free will and desire for evil, not a divine plan from God, but another person's ability to take life by committing a senseless act of violence. I am very clear that it was not a divine plan. I now continue in that dark valley alone, the one that the King James Version refers to as the valley of the shadow of death. That's how we learned it as children. And it is indeed a shadow. Everything reminds me of Toby and the life we had together and the life that he should still have. Nothing in my life will ever be the same. The person I love most, the center of my world for 2 years of marriage, was taken at the age of 31. Nothing in the lives of our families will ever be the same. Things are dark and they are difficult, even if I stand up here and they appear to be otherwise. I'll never be the same person I was before July 7th, 2019. But along with me and our families, I realize that this congregation in some ways will never be the same as it was before July 7th, 2019 as well. Several months ago, I preached about Elijah on the run from Jezebel. He was terrified and he sat under the tree telling God to kill him because it would be better for God to kill him than for Queen Jezebel to find him and what she would do with him. And in that sermon, I talked about how Elijah needed a counselor, someone to talk to about what was happening because he was unwell. He had trauma. And I said to you in that sermon, which I repeated to our regional ministers when I met with them, I said, it's okay to have God and a counselor. It's okay to have God and seek help for your mental well-being from a medical professional. And because I try, all capital letters, underlined, bolded, flashing lights, because I try to practice what I preach, because my own mental health is important to me, and because my ability to serve you and the youth of this church as pastor is important to me, I am seeking help from a counselor, while also seeking comfort from God, because they can go hand in hand. This trauma, this grief is all encompassing, and this walk through the darkest valley is often unbearable. But Psalm 23 tells us that we have to go through the valley. There's no getting around it, no matter how painful it is, no matter how much we wish we could just be done with it. How many of you remember we're learning or listening to the kids' song, "We're Going on a Bear Hunt"? We can sing it after church at the top of our lungs, Cruz. It's like that song. No matter what version of the song you learned, you know that each place of risk, each field of tall grass, each field of mud or forest or raging river has to be gone through, no matter how difficult the task. As the song goes, we can't go over it, we can't go under it, we'll have to go through it. Thank God for preschool for that sermon illustration. But there's also hope outside the green pastures. In the dark and often scary world, this morning's scripture concludes by stating, "I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long." Even in the darkest of places, in the darkest valley, it's important to remember to try to look for lights, which is often easier said than done. There's presence, the presence of God and suffering as comforter. God doesn't cause bad things to happen to us. I don't believe in a loving God who also does terrible things to us. My theology does not jive like that. As human beings, we do enough terrible by ourselves. But when we hurt, I think God is the first to surround us. It doesn't mean that things won't be difficult. It doesn't mean that there's a Band-Aid on it and we're good to go. But it does mean that there is some comfort and some light in knowing that we're truly never alone, even if we feel physically and mentally alone. It's also important to be the light for others who are in the valley, and I've preached this several times. Be the light. There are helping hands and hearts of others, family and friends. It's been extremely important for me to have the support of our regional ministers, as well as so many other disciples in Indiana and people beyond that I've never even met, as well as the circle of Bethany Fellows. I'll never be able to thank those of you here in Wabash for all of the ways you have shown me support in the last 2 months and continue to do so. I'll never be able to properly thank you for loving Toby from the moment that you met him and accepting him into this church. We were never blind to the fact that not all churches are good with a female pastor, one, and not all churches are good with a female pastor who has a black husband, two, and not all churches are good with a female pastor who has a black husband who's also an immigrant seeking his green card, three. So we thank you. He was eternally grateful for that. The way you've all taken care of each other and have been the church in the last several months, and you continue to be the church, is a testament to your serious commitment to being the hands and feet of Christ, to loving your neighbors as yourselves. Never once while I was away did I have to worry about people being taken care of, either by the elders, the deacons, or just anyone stepping up and say, I will make visits, I will make phone calls. I wish Mary Lou were here this morning because I hear she made a lot of visits back in the day. And Winder and Charlie, and those of you who continue to help do that. The goodness and mercy of this congregation is appreciated. It is my hope that as I try to find new footing in life, and in ministry, and I try to find out how I can even move forward, but we can do it together. In case anyone thought this was a resignation sermon. I hope we can be real and we can be honest with each other about the valleys in which we reside, that we can be honest about our struggles as human beings, but that we can also continue to be the good in a hurting and broken world while ourselves being hurting and broken. I hope we can still do ministry together, such as feeding the people here from our community garden and giving money to fish and doing dishes and preparing food and helping hands and whatever we do to help feed people here, because that's important. But I also hope, and I've had this congregation with my mother-in-law and also my sister-in-law, I hope that we continue to hear Toby's call, that we continue to often feed the orphans in Nigeria as well. Because that is how we're going to dwell in the house of the Lord during this life. This ends this morning's word. This felt more like open heart surgery for me, but a necessary step in our ministry together.